All right, so we're going to start with grammar. Go ahead and turn to page 19. Start on page 19 today. Page 19. Do you have it, Thomas? Page 19?
Yes, I do. I'll get it.
All right. Today we're talking about
Uh,
clause. All right, that clause. And you know a little bit already about who, which clause. I think we talked about that a little bit. You're going to learn a lot about different clauses. You're going to learn about them in your grammar to be able to identify them in the grammar book, but then you will also begin using them in your writing as well. All right, so we have the that clause. It's pretty simple because it starts with the word that, so that makes it great. And I've noticed every time I teach this lesson, I notice how many times I say the word that. I guess we say it a lot, especially if we're talking about that clause. Anyway, okay. It's a group of words that begins with the word that and contains a subject and a verb. A that clause is a dependent clause, which means it must be added to a sentence that is already complete. Place parentheses around the that clause and write that above the word that. Write V above each verb and S above each subject. Here's the example. Robin knew that he could win the contest. Pretty easy to spot the clause. It's right there. It starts with the word that. That he could win the contest is the clause. And then, of course, his verbs. The verb is win. The helping verb is could win. And then actually that's a linking verb, connecting the subject and this verb together. So he could win is the subject verb pairs. And then here is the pattern on the margin. It says that plus subject plus verb. So that's how you know where the that clause is. And the first word is that. Comma. We're going to talk about how to use a comma in a that clause. It's used to separate items in a sentence. You already know that if you're listing either nouns or adjectives. If anytime you have a list of more than two, you use commas. There's lots of comma rules. We'll talk about them throughout this book. The that clause, because that clauses are essential to the sentence, commas are not used with that clauses. So remember, if that clause is dependent on the rest of the sentence, if it's essential, no comma is needed. If you could take it out and it's not essential to the sentence, then a comma is needed. So that clauses do not take commas. That's an easy one to remember. A homophone is a word that sounds like another word, but is spelled differently and has a different meaning. So correctly use the homophones to, and to. So they all sound the same, to, and to. Spelled differently, different meanings. To is a preposition or part of an infinitive. To Nottingham is a preposition. To travel is an infinitive. And then TWO is a number, obviously, 2 arrows, number 2 arrows. And TOO is an adverb meaning also or to an excessive degree, like traveled to, like my sister traveled to, or I'm too excited because I'm going to Disneyland today. I'm not, but I would be if I was. But too excited, like overly excited. When you fix it, you're going to place a line through the incorrect homophone and then write the correct one above it. So here's your example. Robin was headed to Nottingham too. He brought his 2 straightest arrows. Obviously, the number 2 doesn't fit right here. He was headed to Nottingham. It should be TO. So that's just showing you how to fix it in your grammar book. Just draw a line and then write the correct one above. Nottingham 2 should be TOO. He brought his 2 straightest arrows is the number 2, TWO. So that's the example there. All right, any questions about this Learn It page today? You guys have any questions about that? Nope, you're good. Okay. I like it when you shake your head because then I know you don't have any questions. So if I ask that and you don't have a question, just shake your head. I can see you in the camera there. Or if you don't have your camera on and you do have a question, just unmute and let me know. This is page 20. So go ahead and turn the page to page 20. This is interesting. Many words can be used as different parts of speech. However, a word can perform only one part of speech at a time. For example, light can be a noun, adjective, or a verb. So this is something to keep in mind. And it's really important to pay attention to how it's used in the sentence because it can change depending on how it's used. So here's the example for a noun. The light hurt my eyes. In this sentence, light is a thing. A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. So the light hurt my eyes. Let's say your mom's trying to get you out of bed. You got to go early somewhere in the morning and it's dark outside and she flips on your light, right? Well, the light, as it hits your eyes, it hurts. It's a thing. It's hurting your eyes. Adjective, the light rain was falling. And the light rain is describing the rain, right? And so in that, what kind of rain? It's light rain, not a heavy rain. It's not pouring. It's a light rain. The adjective describes a noun or pronoun. It can be a verb, like this sentence, the lamps light the room. It's performing an action. The lamps light the room. So in this sentence, light is a verb, light is an action. What light the room? Oh, lamps, right? Lamps light the room. The subject verb pair is lamps light. There you go. So the word light could be used in 3 different ways, but the thing to keep in mind, it can only be used one way at a time in a sentence. It can't be both a subject, it can't be both an adjective and a noun at the same time. Okay. Any questions about that page? No, you guys good? Okay. Let's move on to the practice page. Back this out a little bit. There we go. All right. Do I have any cheerful volunteers to read this page for us today? Any volunteers today? Silas, I see your hand. Go for it.
Then Robin grew angry. No young man likes other men to taunt him about his prized possessions.
Good. So taunt is our vocabulary. It's in bold. And it means, to mock or tease, or actually more like provoking someone to probably anger mostly, but to taunt is to mock someone. Okay, so we know what the vocabulary is. Put a check. If you ever come across one that you don't know, look it up. Make sure you understand what the vocabulary word means. And we check it, indicating, oh, we know what it means, so we can move on. This one is not starting with the articles today. We're starting with the nouns. So let's go to Davinia. What are the nouns that you see in this sentence? Remember, those are the person, place, or thing. Uh-oh, I didn't really hear you. Try that again. That's weird. I can't hear you. I see that you're unmuting, but I can't.
Bad mic, probably.
Maybe. Are you on a laptop or a desktop? Oh, your laptop? Okay. Maybe try leaning into your laptop again, like unmute and try saying it again. That's weird. I can't hear you at all. Go ahead and put it in the chat. We can at least use that. So I don't know if you want to look into that after class. Oh, you wrote it in there already. Okay. So prize is actually not a noun in this sentence. It would be possessions. That's a good guess, but I'm going to give you a clue that prize is telling what kind of possessions. So that makes it an adjective. Okay, but possessions is one. Davinia, go ahead and put it in a chat. Do you see it? There's There are 3 more nouns. Can you find another noun in this sentence? Yes, man. Go ahead and just put them all in the chat. If you see others. There's 2 more nouns. Good, men, good. And one more. Good, Robin, yes. I would let your mom or your dad know about your microphone not working because it's going to make it hard to participate in class. So maybe you guys can come up with a way to fix that. Okay. Robin, moving on to the pronouns. So Thomas, how about tell us some pronouns here?
Young.
Actually, it's just one pronoun. Remember, those are the ones that take the place of a noun. So it's like
Oh,
he, she, it, them, they, those types of words.
oh man. Him?
Yes, him. Good.
I have a really stuffy nose.
I'm sorry. Sounds like Josh has the same thing. Silas, what about adjectives, words that describe the noun? So a clue would be to look at the noun and think of a word around it that describes.
I came up with grew, angry.
Okay. Grew is not an adjective. That's actually a verb, but that's an action.
So it'd be like a subject verb.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. Yes, but yeah. Angry
So
is an adjective.
angry,
Yes.
young,
Yes, that is an adjective.
prize,
Prize. Yep, we talked about that.
about,
Not about, but it would be, if you look at the noun men and ask which men, it would give you this adjective here.
okay.
Other, so other is an adjective. So remember that the little margin told us to ask which one or how many or what kind. There's another one
And
in
then-
here. Go ahead.
How many okay, so likes,
See, we got 1, 2, 3. Yeah,
4. So likes,
likes is a verb.
oh.
How about- Because sometimes adjectives are together. This is an example here. So we have the noun possessions. If you ask which possession, the prize possession, but it's his prize possession. So his, even though it could be a pronoun, in this sentence, it's another adjective. So there's 2 adjectives listed together. And that's going to be true for young, asking what kind of man? Oh, young man, but then this is another adjective here. No
Right.
young man. That's a tough one. There's a lot of adjectives in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we got them all now. Okay, but I get it. Sometimes the verbs are close to adjectives, so we do have to watch for that. I think we're going to skip prepositional phrase and come back to that. In my mind, it's easier to move on to subject verb pairs. So I'm going to ask Josh, are you feeling well enough to talk, or do you just want to listen today?
Is it okay if I just listen today?
Yeah, it's okay. I understand you're not feeling well. It's okay.
Thank
So
you.
Joey, let's move on to Joey. Tell me the verbs that you see. We kind of talked about them already a little bit, but what verbs do you see in these sentences? Action words.
Wasn't one of them grew
Grew, correct.
and taunt?
Taunt. You know what? They don't have that labeled as a verb, but I do believe that is a verb. I don't know why they didn't label it in this one. So we're going to leave it blank, but I'm going to come back and explain that later because I'm not sure why they didn't label it as a verb. So no, not that one. Grew, and there's one more on the top line. That's
Likes.
yeah, likes, very good. Now, if you ask yourself who grew, that's going to tell you the subject. So Davinia, looking at the verb grew, if you ask who grew, go ahead and type in the chat who you think the subject is in that sentence. Yeah, Robin again. Good. So we're going to write S above N for that one, because it's both the noun and the subject. And then Thomas, this verb likes, who are we talking about here in that sentence? What's the subject? Thomas, are you thinking?
Wait, what?
Okay, you got to pay attention because I just asked you a question, okay?
What was the
What is-
question?
The question is, here's the verb likes,
Mhm.
and who are we talking about in that sentence? Who's the subject in that sentence?
Robin,
Robin, but that's not in this sentence.
the man, the young man.
Man. So put S above the N for man, that's the subject. So this goes together, man likes. This subject and verb goes together, Robin grew. So that's the subject verb pairs. So the best way to find them is to look for the verb first and then ask yourself who is doing that action, and that will tell you the subject of the sentence. All right, so we got those. Now we're moving on to the prepositional phrase. And remember, this is pretty easy after you've labeled all these things, because there's only a few words here that do not have a label yet. Then, to, taunt, about, those don't have a label yet. So a preposition, and remember there's a list. The prepositional list is at the back of your book if you want to peek back there, if you still need help with that. So I'm going to give this one to Joey, actually. What is the prepositional phrase in these sentences? And if you look on page 198.
I found it.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
About his prized possessions.
Good. And it always ends on either a noun or a pronoun. So that's correct. Good job, Joey. That's that. Capitals, that's easy. We know we know Robin. We know the first word in this sentence, no. And that's all of them, 3. End mark is a period on this one. And then there is a homophone. There's a word here that is misspelled, but it's a homophone. So Silas, do you know which word that is?
It is in the second sentence, to taunt, it should be TO.
Good job explaining that too. Because TOO means also, and that doesn't fit in that sentence. So you're correct. It should be just TO. All right, we got them all checked. So just a quick reminder about your homework. I do want you to take the time to put check marks by each item above as you do those, so that I know you're keeping track. And a little tip here, when you find the subject verb pair first, and then go back to the prepositional phrase, that sometimes that can help you. You don't have to do it that way, but if you get stuck on that, that's a trick that you can do. And then for part of your homework, you'll rewrite this sentence down below. And then your next 3 pages, which would be 22, 23, and 24, that's your homework assignment for this week. That's the grammar part. Okay, so any questions about grammar so far? No questions about grammar. Everybody's good. Okay. You can put your grammar book aside. Okay. Moving on to the writing part, which is in your binder. By the way, I'm going to have you do a little bit of organizing with your binders. I just wanted to ask you guys, and you can just unmute and tell me if you have it already set up this way, but here's the very front of the inside of my binder, and the first section here is just the introduction, table of contents, and then we have this called scope and sequence page. And then my next tab is source text. Is that how your binder looks? Did we set it up like that? So really it should be, I just want to make sure, I can't remember if we talked about this yet or not, but it should be this first page, which is basically the cover. Then you've got just the very beginning of the binder with the table of contents. And you have the little introduction, and then this part here with this chart is called scope and sequence. That's page 7. And then page 8 is blank, it's the back of that. And then the very next spot in your binder should be source text. And then everything else goes behind that. So the best way to do it is to take out that tab source text and put it in there after the scope and sequence part of the front. If you have questions, go ahead and unmute. So I want to make sure your binder is set up correctly. Okay. Now mine is going to look a little different than yours because I am teaching other classes and we're moving all around inside the binder. So yours should have, let's see, which one are we on here? Everybody with me so far with the binder, like where things go? Everything else should be behind source text, but do you see the tab that says finished compositions right here? There's a tab that says finished compositions. Turn that tab open, and this is where I want you to put the blue ringed octopus. We are done with that passage. We are done with your keyword outline. And you can move those two things behind finished compositions tab. Yes, Josh, what's your question?
All my markers were in the very back of my book. What page do I put it in?
Your markers on the very back of your book?
Yeah, they weren't in between the pages to mark where everything was at.
I'm not sure what you mean as far as what tab are you talking about?
All of our dividers are in the back.
Oh, you haven't opened those up yet. Okay. All right. I mean, you haven't moved those. Is that what you mean, Josh? Like where you want these markers or tabs?
Yes.
Okay. So the source text tab, you can take that out of your binder, take it out of your ring, and that goes after page 8. Page 8 is actually blank. Page 7 is called the scope and sequence. So take out the source text tab, close up your rings. Don't forget that part because you'll have a giant mess on your hands if you forget that. So make sure when you open your rings, take out that tab, close your rings, and then flip to the front. Does that answer your question, Josh?
Yes.
Good. Okay, thank you. And then the only other thing I wanted you to do for today, because we're going to chip away at this, you're going to organize your binder as we go, but the blue ringed octopus one and your outline that you worked on last week, both of those can go find the tab, close your rings. Don't forget that, close your rings, go to finished compositions and put that right behind that tab in the back. Any questions about that part? Okay, you will also see on your tabs, you see things like model, charts, and outlines. We'll get to that. You'll see work in process. We'll start using that later, but for now, we're keeping everything you're working on at the very front of your binder. but eventually we'll start using that tab. There's also other tabs like stylistic techniques, banned words, punctuation usage. Don't worry about those tabs yet, just leave them in the back. And we will slowly start organizing your binder as we go. All right, once you get those in there, close your rings up. Today, we're going to work on one called carnivorous plants. And you should already have this out from, I think last week we took it out. So it should be at the very front of your binder. It is page 13. And we're going to look at this one next. All right, just give me a thumbs up either virtually or in the camera if you have this article in front of you, carnivorous plants. Good, okay, thank you for that. You got it, Davinia? Okay. And Thomas, you're good? Okay. Carnivorous plants, we're going to read this and we're going to work on a keyword outline for this one because we're going to get you really familiar with that keyword outline because it's, like I said, the backbone of this whole program that you guys are learning in this binder. So I really want to make sure we take our time and lock in the skills for how to do a keyword outline. So basically, I'm going to read this to you. You guys can follow along and then we're going to talk about how to set up the keyword outline. All right, carnivorous plants. And this is an article, a factual informational article. So it's facts, which means it's true and real. Although most Americans are familiar with the Venus flytrap, there are about 583 species of carnivorous plants that attract, trap, and kill prey. They tend to grow in nitrogen-deficient environments and must get their nutrients from decaying animal life. There are 5 common types of traps used by these plants. Flypaper traps use a sticky mucilage, while snap traps use rapid leaf movements. Bladder traps create a vacuum to suck in their prey. Lobster traps have small inward pointing hairs that force prey toward a digestive organ. Lastly, pitfall traps used by pitcher plants trap prey in a rolled leaf. The various species of tropical pitcher plant found in New Guinea are some of the world's largest. To survive in poor soil, these peculiar plants entice insects and other small animals into their gaping mouths with sweet-smelling nectar and eye-catching colors. A series of sticky downward ribs makes it nearly impossible for trapped prey to escape. Once trapped, acid-like digestive enzymes break down the still living creature into absorbable nutrients. While most pitcher plants catch mainly insects, the larger ones, such as Nepenthes raja, can also trap and feed on frogs, lizards, mice, and even birds. Crazy. Meat-eating plants. Has anyone ever had or seen a Venus flytrap before? I know you can buy those. Yeah, Silas has. And I think you feed them flies. Is that right, Silas?
I believe so. That and like small insects.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So interesting plants. They're very unique, kind of creepy, but kind of cool at the same time. They actually have a digestive system in there, different than ours. They don't have intestines and things like that, but it does absorb into their outer walls, which is their nutrients to help it grow. So it's interesting stuff. All right, go ahead and get out a lined piece of paper. A new one, a clean one. And like we did with the blue-ringed octopus, we're going to set up a keyword outline, but first we're going to label your paper as usual here with your name at the top and today's date right underneath it. Today is February 7th, 2023. Your name goes where I put the line, okay? And then skip a line. We're going to put the title of this article, which is Carnivorous Plants. Thomas, are you writing this down on a lined piece of paper?
Yeah.
Okay, get your paper out.
All right.
All right.
Does it have to be lined?
Yes, it does. Does have to be lined.
Has to be lined.
That's something you definitely need to have every class time with me. We do a lot of stuff on lined paper.
All right.
Okay. Now for the keyword outline, I want you to go ahead and write that right underneath carnivorous plants. Go ahead and put keyword line. Go ahead and skip a line. You're going to start with Roman numeral 1. Go ahead and mute, Thomas. I think you have some background.
Why am I always never me?
All right, so the Roman numeral represents the topic sentence for that paragraph. So that's why we start with a Roman numeral here. And I'm showing you the outline again. On this one, there are actually 6 sentences in the first paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and have you write 1 to 6 right here. You're going to indent a little bit. 4, 5, 6. So we have the Roman numeral 1 along the red line, and then indent a little bit for numbers 1 to 6. Just a little refresher, because this is still the really basic outline that we're starting with. When you write an outline, who can tell me how many words do you want on each line? How many words are we trying to put on each line? If you know the answer, go ahead and say it.
3.
3. Thank you, Josh. And then what are the things that you can put for free that you don't have to count? Anybody know what that is?
Symbols.
Symbols is one. You guys remember we talked about it last week? You can look back on your notes if you need to, but symbols, and it's numbers and abbreviations. Okay, symbols, numbers, and abbreviations are free, meaning we don't have to count those as words. So you do need to have 3 words, keywords, but you can have those other things for free that you don't have to count. And then the other rule is to put commas between each word. So like you did with the blue-ringed octopus, we're going to do that for carnivorous plants. And for now, we're going to do sentence by sentence, okay? So we're going to start with the first sentence here. It says, although most Americans are familiar with the Venus flytrap, there are about 583 species of carnivorous plants that attract, trap, and kill prey. All right, there's a lot of words there. And we can only write down 3, the key words, the most important words in that sentence to help us remember what that sentence is about. So I know the number 503 is going to be important, and I'm going to use the symbol. Remember the symbol in math for about, it's like a little squiggly line like that. 583. And guess what? So far I have a symbol and a number. I don't have to count that as a word. So I still have more I can add to this. And I know that I'm talking about species, so I need to write that in here. By the way, that word species could be pronounced species, and it's the same. It's tomato, tomato, either way. Species, either way. And I do think that another key word that would be important to remember from that sentence is attract, because that is really what the plant does. It attracts its prey, right? And then they trap it. So I'm going to put attract, and I'm going to put trap. And they do kill their prey. So I'm going to do a little symbol here because I want to remember, I've already got my 3 words, so I can't write any more words, but I can do a symbol. And I'm going to do a dead guy. Or a dead face. 2 X's for his eyes is basically what I put here. And then a sad face because, yeah, he's basically dead. So that's a symbol that it kills its prey, right? We can remember prey. We know predator and prey. So this is actually a predator, these carnivorous plants. Predator to insects. So we've got about 583 species: attract, trap, and prey. Notice I did not put carnivorous plants on my Roman numeral 1. That is because I know it's in the title, so I don't need to repeat that. And we want to be really particular about what words we use in our outline, because we got to get the most bang for our buck, right? So we want to make sure we pick the best words we can to help us remember what that sentence was about. I'm going to do the next one, and then we're going to take turns deciding together what would go next. Look at sentence number 2, which is the next sentence here. It starts with they tend to grow in nitrogen deficient environments and must get their nutrients from decaying animal life. Well, that's a lot of words too, but I know that nitrogen deficient, that's important to remember. And it's hyphenated. So we can count that as one word. Go ahead and put nitrogen dash deficient. And since it's a hyphenated word, we are going to count that as one. All right. And that's how it grows. That might be kind of hard to remember that it grows in nitrogen deficient environments. And I think I'm going to put the abbreviation Enviro. If I use an abbreviation, I don't have to count that. So I'm going to put Enviro period for environment. That's an abbreviation. Okay, so we've got nitrogen deficient, environment, and then decaying, I think, is another important key word in that sentence. So decaying, and I'm going to squeeze in here animal. So I have nitrogen deficient environment, decaying animal. It's going to be tricky to remember nutrients. So we might want to try to, that's what they're getting from the decaying animal. So this sentence could be, they live in a nitrogen deficient environment and eat decaying animals for their nutrition. That's an example of how to use that line in a sentence, because you're going to do the same thing you did with the blue-ringed octopus. Once we're done with this outline, you're going to practice retelling the article to someone in your family, only using the outline here. All right, so moving on to the next sentence, I'm going to start with Thomas. Since you're at the top of my Zoom call here, your sentence starts right here with there are. Go ahead and read that sentence first and tell us what you think the 3 key words are.
There are 5 common types of traps used by these plants.
Okay.
Common traps.
Here's an opportunity to use a number. Remember, those are free. So what if we did 5 common types, or should we say 5 types?
5 types.
Okay. 5 types. And then what was another keyword you thought? What's another keyword, Thomas?
Up. Traps.
Traps, I agree. And I'm wondering about the word used. Used by these plants. So there are 5 common types of traps used by these traps. So what if we put used? Do you agree with that, Thomas? 5 types traps used. That'll help us. So Joey, going on to you, your sentence will start right here where it says flypaper traps. Go ahead and read that sentence first.
Flypaper traps use a sticky
It's mucilage.
mucilage, while snap traps use rapid leaf movements.
Yeah. So mucilage is like mucus, pretty nasty. So it's like that sticky stuff in there. All right, Joey. So what do you think as far as our keywords? You can use numbers, symbols. What do you think we should put here to remember that sentence? Are you thinking about it, Joey?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm thinking we should start with flypaper because that's the name of the trap. What do you think?
yeah, probably.
Okay, flypaper. So let's put that flypaper. And what about the flypaper? What do they use for the flypaper traps?
Sticky mucilage.
Yeah, so I think rather than using sticky, let's just use mucilage. Remember, is like sticky mucus, basically. So we're talking about flypaper uses mucilage, and then what's another trap they talk about?
Traps.
Snap traps, yeah, so let's put snap. And we already got our 3 words here, so we're going to need to draw a symbol, and it's rapid leaf movements. So I think we should draw like that's the Venus flytrap. So let's draw like some leaves and put some teeth in there like that. There's the stem, a couple of leaves, and then I drew some teeth in there, if you can see that. So that could be our little symbol. And it's okay to draw little things in there to help you remember, but don't go crazy on your symbols. I have a student in another class, she'll draw like 5 or 6 symbols all together to help her remember. You don't want to do that. But if you run out of words, like we already have our 3, you can draw a little picture to help you remind you what that part of the sentence was about. Any questions about that as far as symbols and pictures and things? You guys okay with that? Okay. We're going to do this a lot, so it'll get pretty easy eventually. Let's move on to Silas. Go ahead and read the next sentence that starts with bladder traps.
Bladder traps create a vacuum to suck in their prey.
All right. As far as keywords, what do you think?
Bladder trap,
Yeah.
vacuum,
Yeah,
or just bladder.
I think just bladder. That's good. And I like vacuum. Oops, I did not spell that correctly. Vacuum's one of those weird words. V-A-C-U-U-M. Okay, vacuum. What do you think for a third word? I kind of think it should be suck, even though we know that's what a vacuum does. But that's what they're doing to the prey, right? So let's put suck. So we have bladder, vacuum, suck. That's crazy, isn't that good? Okay, so we know bladder, right? You've probably taken some part of human anatomy about the digestive system and all that. So we know the bladder is where the urine is held in our bodies. And it's an organ that we have. So this plant has a bladder, but it's not a bladder that holds urine. It's like a machine, kind of. So it sounds like a vacuum. Isn't that crazy?
Bladder doesn't have to be just like the urine organ. It can be like any vessel. It can just be like a vessel of like liquid or something.
I agree.
Like-
And yeah, go ahead.
Like a pouch full of air can be considered an air bladder or just anything. It's just like a
Correct.
vessel.
Isn't that crazy though, that a plant would have that? To me, I just, it blows my mind, but you're right, Silas, thanks for sharing that. So a bladder could be full of air, which in this case it is, it creates, I wonder if it collapses. And then as it's expanding, it's sucking through a tube, maybe, and like, you've probably seen pictures of our bladders is like a balloon, but then it's got a little tube, right? Maybe it's like that and it just expands and then it sucks in their prey. So maybe it waits until a fly or some kind of insect, a ladybug, who knows, something small probably, and waits till it gets close and then I just think that's cool. I mean, it's a plant. It's almost like it has a brain, but it doesn't have a brain. So I don't know, it's weird. Kind of cool. Okay, next is we got, wait, Silas already went. So, oh, did you go already? Yeah, you did. You just went. Okay, Davinia, do number 5, and it starts with lobster traps. So go to that part there. Oh, you can't read. I forget. I mean, you can read, but we can't hear you. I'm sorry, Davinia. I wonder if you could get an external mic, maybe. Your microphone on your laptop is not working. So I wonder if you could buy something that can plug in, maybe for next time. Or if you have earbuds or anything that like a headset that would have a microphone, that would work too. Okay, so maybe look into that. All right, so we're going to skip you for this part. And we'll go back to Thomas on that. Go ahead and read the sentence lobster traps, Thomas.
Lobster traps have small individual pointing hands that force prey toward it or
Okay, so keywords for that one. Thomas.
I can't see it anymore.
Oh, you should have it in front of you though.
Oh yeah. Maybe. Uh lobsters,
Lobster.
hairs,
Okay,
digestive,
okay. I like it.
I'm not muted.
Hairs, digestive. I think that's good. Oops, you don't need a period there. We got to remember that's the name of the trap though. I wonder if we put, how about we go back and put quotes like around the names of the traps? That'll help us remember the name of the trap. So the lobster trap, bladder trap, fly paper trap. Put little quotations around them, and that'll help us remember that's the name of the trap. All right, that's 3 of them so far, and we've got one more trap that they're talking about here. So Joey, back to you. Can you read the last sentence in the first paragraph there?
Lastly, pitfall traps used by pitcher plants trap prey in a rolled leaf.
Okay, good. So we probably should get the name of the traps, which is
A pitfall trap.
pitfall. So let's put quotes around that. Pitfall. That's the pitfall. And then what do you think as far as the other 2 keywords in that sentence?
Pitcher plants in rolled leaf.
Yeah, I agree, except for that's way too many words. So I think we don't need to remember pitcher plants. It's not key. I mean, it is used by them, but I agree rolled leaf is going to tell us about how it traps its prey. It uses a rolled leaf. Okay, we got that first paragraph done. Now this is where we're going to practice putting away the carnivorous plants article. And we're going to just focus on your keyword outline. This is important to practice, you guys, because eventually you're going to use your keyword outline for writing. But still, right now, we're practicing formulating sentences using your outline. So, and I'm going to jump ahead to Davinia, because I still want you to participate. So you're number 1, 2, 3, 4. So Davinia, you can be working on this in the chat, but I'm going to give you this one right here, number 3. But I'm going to start with the other guys first, but I wanted you to know which one you're going to have so you can work on coming up with a sentence. Okay, so, and you can put it in the chat when you're ready for number 3 right here. Okay, so we'll start with Thomas. Roman numeral 1, only looking at your keyword outline here. Only we're looking at these words and symbols. I want you to look at it, think of a full sentence, and then look up into the camera and tell us a full sentence using those words.
There are 583 species of carnivorous plants that attract bugs and trap them and kill them.
Okay, that was pretty good. I'm going to stop my share so that you're not actually using my outline, and see if you can do it without looking. Look at your outline that you wrote down, and then look up and tell us a sentence one more time. Same one. Try it one more time, telling us a complete sentence. All right. Okay. If you're talking to us, we can't hear you. You're muted. So try it one more time.
There are 583 species.
Look up at the camera, though. There you go.
There are 583 species of carnivorous plants that attract and trap bugs and kill them.
Okay, good. That works. Good jobs, Thomas. That was good. All right, I'm going to have Silas go next. You're going to do the next one down, which is the regular number 1 that says nitrogen deficient environment, decaying animal. Go ahead and tell us a sentence. I don't see your face, but that's okay.
So these carnivorous plants grow in nitrogen deficient environments, and because of this they have to rely on the nitrogen given off of dying or decaying animals to get the nitrogen.
Nice. Okay, to get nutrition, I think is what you mean, right? Yeah. That was good. Very good, Silas. And that was a long sentence, and that's okay. You can add those extra words in there. That's good. Good job. All right, so Joey, I'm going to have you do number 2, the regular number 2 there. Using 5 types traps used, tell us a complete sentence looking at the camera.
There are 5 different types of traps that the carnivorous plants use to get their nutrition.
Perfect. I love it. Good job, Joey. All right, Davinia, did you come up with a sentence? Okay. Can you put it in the chat? This is for regular number 3 here. You have flypaper, mucilage, snap, and then we have a picture of the leaves. Oh, you got it. Awesome. So she has flypaper traps, use mucilage to snap traps. Perfect. That's a great sentence. It's different than the original, but that's okay. You've got all the keywords in there, and that's the most important thing. All right, so we're going to stop there, and I'm going to share my screen one more time. You guys are doing good with this. You're getting it. So next week, we're going to move on to something different, but I do want you to skip a line on your outline and go ahead and put Roman numeral 2. And in the second paragraph, there are only 4 sentences. So you're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 for Roman numeral 2. And then at the bottom, I want you to skip about 3 lines and put 1, 2, 3, parent signature again. And you're going to do like you did last week. Finish the outline on your own. So this is for paragraph 2. There's actually 5 sentences total for paragraph 2, because we count the Roman numeral as the topic sentence. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences total. So you're going to fill in for the very first sentence of the paragraph. You're going to put here your 3 key words. Remember, look back on your notes if you need to from the blue ringed octopus. You have 3 words. Symbols, numbers, and abbreviations are free. So you can add those and you don't have to count them for each one of these. And then your homework is to retell the whole article to someone in your family, an adult, only using your keyword outline, just like you were practicing with me. This is the last time we're going to do this part. So make sure you practice that with your parents or whoever it is at home. And then, of course, your grammar homework those are the pages 22 to 24 in your grammar. So you're going to finish the outline first from paragraph 2, and then retell the story or the article to an adult and get their signature. You guys have any questions about the homework this week?
No.
Questions? You're good? All right, we have 1.5 minutes to spare. So there you go. You guys have a great week. I'll see you next week. And Davinia,
Yeah.
hopefully you can figure out your microphone, okay?
All right.
All righty, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Feel better, Josh. I hope you get better. See you guys next week.